All right, guys, so today we're going to discuss 4 ways that some women in our society, quote unquote, court men. And I'm going to give you suggestions on how you as a man can better protect yourself against these courting. Welcome back to Resilient Man channel. If you're new here, special welcome to you. Guys, please support the channel, like and subscribe, comment your thoughts, share the channel with your brethren out there. Your support is greatly appreciated. So let me preface this message by saying that this applies to some women, not all. But unfortunately, it does apply to a high percentage of women in today's society and culture, and it's at the detriment of men. It's why there is a MGTOW movement. It's why a lot of younger men are rejecting marriage and rejecting relationships with women because of the 4 ways that women, quote unquote, court men, which I'm about to share with you, and then I will share a suggestion for each one to better protect yourself from that. So the 4 ways that women, quote unquote, court men: divorce court, family court, civil court, and probably the worst one, criminal court. That's what we're going to discuss today. So let's jump into this. So let's start with number 1, divorce court. You know, the fact of the matter is, and I truly believe this, women today know they have a guaranteed winning ticket, if you will, if she decides to leave the marriage. Women can break the marital contract at any time for any reason, and they're pretty much guaranteed that they're going to be rewarded in divorce court. You know, as a man, you learn real fast that that you have no value in divorce court. Many times, you know, she could have cheated, she could have done whatever. That is completely ignored by the court and taken into no value. So this is something that some women purposely court men because they know that they're going to, if the marriage doesn't work out, if they decide to end the marriage, they're going to win. And my suggestion is, if you are going through a divorce, really take the time to find a quality family law attorney that's focused on men's rights. There are firms out there, law firms, that just represent men. They're focused on men's rights, and it really will benefit you to find a law firm like that if you are going through a divorce. I also would suggest that you have an initial consultation with at least 2 of these firms, preferably 3, and then make a decision on which one you want to go with. So, number 2 way that some women, quote unquote, court men in our society today: family court, which, you know, is the segue, I guess, from number 1. You know, how often do you see the father get custody of the children? You know, or even 50% custody. I mean, quite frankly, it's rare. When I run into a guy who is divorced and has children and he has 50% of the custody, I'm actually shocked. I mean, I usually ask him, "Wow, man, I'd love to hear your story," because most men, what their experience is, probably yours, your experience watching this, is you are relegated to the periphery of your children's lives by the quote-unquote family court, and you get to see them a few times a month, maybe every other weekend or once a week included, and that is seen as fair in the eyes of the court. Women know this, you know, and it is a way they quote unquote court men in our society. Again, they know they can leave the marriage. They know that they're going to get the children if the marriage ends, and they're going to get child support. You know, another thing that is epidemic in our society is children being purposely alienated by the mother against the father. It does happen against the mother, but it's a small percentage. Usually it is the father who is purposely alienated from his children by the mother. And there's little recourse that you have as a father and as a man in court. I mean, yeah, you can bring the mother back to court, but in most cases, number one, the court doesn't give a damn about you as a father, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to hire an attorney. It's going to cost you a lot of time, and parental alienation is extremely hard to prove in courts. So, and many times the damage has already been done to the children as well. It's unfortunate that parental alienation is a piece of this, but it is epidemic. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have experienced it or are experiencing. So again, the suggestion that I would make is really take the time to find a quality family law attorney law firm that is focused on men's rights, fathers' rights. They're very versed in child custody, child support, and parental alienation if that is what you're experiencing as well. So number 3 way that women, quote unquote, court men in our society. Intimate harassment, shall we say? Harassment. I'm watching my words for YouTube. Usually intimate harassment, harassment is in the workplace, but it can be in other environments as well, where more often than not, you as a man are seen as the perpetrator, and you can actually be, quote unquote, courted into this situation purposely. And it's something you really need to watch for. Most of the time, the woman is assumed to be correct. She's expected to be believed, even from just an accusation. And this can actually affect you with, lost wages, emotional and mental stress, maybe even losing your job. So, but the thing that was interesting to me was I did research on this and how women can actually take you to civil court and sue you for damages. And the thing that was interesting within the work environment is what I read on a few different law firms' websites was that even though the action or the behavior does not directly target that specific woman. For example, if you were to make lewd jokes, if you were to pull up pictures on your computer and she happened to see them, if you were to make comments or anything that were lewd in any way, she can bring a civil suit against you as a hostile work environment and quote unquote harassment. So my suggestion when it comes to this is, number one, keep your mouth shut and do not engage with these women in a professional environment, because there are women who do court, quote unquote, you into this situation, and it's a trap. It is a trap. It's done for many various reasons. Maybe you rejected her. Maybe you're up for the same promotion that she's up, and this is an easy way to take you out of the running because it ruins your reputation. It goes on your work file. And even if you're shown to, these were false accusations, you're still slandered and you're still maligned. So one thing that I personally do in a professional situation is I try to make sure I am never alone with women. And I also try to make sure that I have other people around me to witness our conversations. If it's a situation where you have to go into a conference room and you're working, alone with this woman, or maybe you're driving to a client's business and you're expected to ride with her. Personally, there have been situations where I said, no, I'm not doing it. and I explained myself and said, look, the environment that men have been placed in is we are guilty until proven innocent when it comes to any type of harassment like this, and they can bring civil damages. So I refuse to be alone with a woman. There needs to be somebody else in the room with us working, or at least the doors open, but something. And some of you watching this might say, well, that's a little extreme. Well, it's not extreme if it does result in HR getting involved, and your reputation is maligned, and you are possibly put on leave from work until this is worked out, and you lose income. There's many things that can happen. So that's why I add this in as that suggestion. Number 4, and probably the worst one of all, that some women, quote unquote, court men in our society, is criminal court. I have a son who is a young man, and he has shared stories with me. Shared a story with me a while back about how he and his buddies were at the beach, and they met some girls, and they went down to the beach and hung out at night, and we're having a great time. And I had shared with him, I said, back in my day, I did the same thing. I grew up in Central Florida. I was on the beach, was down on the beach with girls all the time at night. But we live in a different time. We live in a time where, unfortunately, especially for young men, they can be accused and or even quote unquote courted into a situation where she's setting a trap for him, accusing him of some type of assault, accusing him of doing something that he shouldn't do. Maybe she even posts it on social media, which is, we see that happening nowadays, where a young woman will post something on social media to malign and ruin his reputation, even though it's false. Once it's done, it's done. The damage is done. And so the suggestion I gave my son, and that I suggest to you as a man, is be wary of situations like that. Being alone with a woman you really don't know. Because those situations can lead to, getting arrested or even criminal court. I mean, we've all heard the stories of, everything was fine and we had a great time until the police knocked on my door, and next thing I know, I was in handcuffs, and I had to hire an attorney, and I had to go to criminal court, and I had to prove my innocence and all these different things. Well, it's something that you as a man should be very wary of. Personally, I mean, I will not even walk a woman to her car anymore. I will not be alone with a woman that I don't know, that I've known her for a while and there's some type of friendship there, but a woman that I just met, there's no way I would just walk her to her car. There's no way I would be alone with her, because it's just not worth the risk. She can make an accusation against you as a man, and again, the police show up at your door the next day and you're wondering what the hell is going on. And it's up to you to prove your innocence. You are, in these type of situations, you are guilty until proven innocent. And it's just not worth the risk, So guys, those are the 4 ways that some women, quote unquote, court men into situations in today's society. It's kind of ironic too, because when you think about how men have traditionally courted women, the way that we've traditionally courted women, today it's now considered simping. It's now considered pathetic by a lot of these women. And, the world that we live in is just a strange place today. The fact that traditional courting is seen by a lot of these women as simping or weird or desperate, that tells you a lot about the mentality of some of these women, and you need to really protect yourself and not put yourself into these situations. I know some women might say, well, it's not all women. I agree. It's not all women. But the story I shared about my son and what I said to him was, it's not all women. The problem is, the challenge is for us men out there, you don't know which one of these women are going to, quote unquote, court you into one of these situations. So you have to be extremely careful, and you have to vet them, and you have to make sure that you do not put yourself into that situation. Too many men find out the hard way that they were literally courted into a terrible situation. And these are just a few reasons why men today are wary of women, and especially of being alone with certain women. So, guys, let me know your thoughts. Please like and subscribe to support Resilient Man channel. I appreciate you watching. Check out the other content here on Resilient Man. We've got a lot of great content that deals specifically with men's topics and the things that we are challenged with in our society and culture that can really benefit you as well. So, know your worth. Protect your peace.